The door was unlocked. Alistair Pierce stood in the frame for 12 seconds before stepping inside. His overnight bag landed on hardwood that should have been bare. Children's shoes sat in a neat row by the entrance. He stepped over them. The house smelled like someone else's dinner, pasta maybe, garlic bread. He moved through the living room, touching surfaces, the back of the couch, the windowsill, the mantel. Everything was clean. In the kitchen, plates dried in a rack he didn't own. A woman sat at the table with a laptop. Two children played on the floor with wooden blocks. The woman's hands were wrapped in a dish towel. She wrung it twice. It was already dry. The boy, maybe 4, continued stacking blocks. The girl, older, stopped mid-reach and began counting floor tiles. 1, 2, 3, 4. Her lips moved without sound. Alistair stopped in the doorway. He did not enter the kitchen. The woman looked up. "Who are you?" he said. She stood. The towel stayed in her hands. "Maël Duran." "I can explain." "No, get out. Please, if you'll just—" He took out his phone. "Wait." He dialed 911. The girl's counting stopped. "Please don't. The children—" The line connected. "I have trespassers in my home. 247 Meadow Road." The boy started crying. Alistair did not lower his voice. "Are you in danger?" The dispatcher's voice carried across the kitchen. Alistair looked at the woman, at the children. 8 seconds of silence. The boy's crying filled it. "No." Do you want to press charges?" The girl watched him. Her mother watched him. The boy pressed his face against his mother's leg. "I'll call back," Alistair said. He hung up. The woman's grip on the towel loosened. She did not drop it. The girl counted under her breath again. 5, 6, 7. "You have until I get the locks changed," Alistair said. "Tomorrow morning." We have nowhere—" "Not my problem." The girl stepped forward. "Maman." The woman's voice sharpened. "Va, dans ta chambre." The girl did not move. "Maintenant." The girl took her brother's hand and led him upstairs. Their footsteps were careful and quiet. A door closed. Maël turned back to Alistair. "I can pay you." "With what?" She said nothing. "That's what I thought." He turned toward the hall. "1 week," she said. "I'll clean. I'll cook. Whatever you need. Then we leave." He stopped. "You're offering to be my maid?" "I'm offering to earn our stay." He turned back, looked at her. She looked at the floor, then forced her eyes up. 10 days, he said. "You cook, you clean, you stay out of my way. I don't see your kids. I don't hear your kids. Day 11, you're gone. I don't care where." "Yes." "Say it." She blinked. "What?" "Say what you are." 12 seconds passed. Somewhere upstairs, floorboards creaked. Someone was listening. "Guest," she said. "No, your staff. Say it." Her jaw tightened. She looked at the doorway where her children had left, then back at him. "Staff." "Good. I eat at 7. Breakfast at 8. He walked past her to the stairs. She stood alone in the kitchen. Upstairs, the children's door was open 2 inches. It closed slowly, the latch clicking soft. The kitchen was already clean when Alistair came down at 6:45. Breakfast was on the table. Scrambled eggs, toast, coffee. Maël stood by the counter with her hands behind her back. He sat down. She remained standing. He ate for 11 minutes. She did not move from her position. When he finished, he stood, picked up his plate, and set it in the sink. "The guest bathroom," he said. "Hair in the sink? I'll clean it. Now." She went immediately. He followed, and stood in the doorway while she crouched by the sink with a cloth. She wiped the basin. He watched for 30 seconds, then walked away. Later that morning, Maël was preparing lunch when the boy, Caius, came into the kitchen. Alistair sat at the table with his laptop open. "Maman, j'ai faim." Alistair did not look up from the screen. English. Or silence. Caius stopped speaking. His mouth remained open for a moment, then closed. Maël turned from the stove. "Caius, va—" She caught herself. Her hand gripped the counter edge. "What did I say about noise?" She looked at Caius. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Go upstairs." And the boy left. He did not cry until he was out of sight. The sound came through the ceiling. Thin walls, old house, both adults heard it. Neither looked up. The phone rang. In the afternoon, Alistair answered on speaker. Maël was wiping the counter 8 feet away. "The Tokyo group is pulling out," a woman's voice said. "We need you in New York tomorrow." "Can't." Can't or won't?" "I'm recovering." "Recovering. I saw your last expense report. You bought a Vermont house. For recovery. You spent $2.3 million on recovery? The fund is bleeding, Alistair." Alistair glanced at Maël. Her hands slowed but did not stop moving across the counter. "Are you even listening?" "I'll handle it remotely." "You haven't handled anything in 6 weeks. The board is asking questions. Tell them I'm unavailable." "For how long?" "As long as it takes." "That's not an answer." It's the only one you're getting. He hung up. Mael continued cleaning the counter. It was already clean. She had heard everything. How much this house cost, how much was bleeding away, how much he had while she scrubbed his toilets. That night, after she put the children to bed, Elowin's voice came through the darkness. Why are we servants? We're not servants. He treats you like one. It's temporary. You said that about the car in the apartment. Mael did not answer. After a moment, Elowin turned to face the wall. On the fourth morning, Mael found an envelope on the kitchen counter. Inside was $500 in cash. No note. She left it there. That evening, while she prepared dinner, Alistair came into the kitchen. You didn't take it. I didn't earn it. You've been working 4 days. You said room and board. Take it. No, thank you. It wasn't a question. He pushed the envelope across the counter toward her. I don't want your money. Then what do you want? To finish 10 days and leave. And go where? She said nothing. That's what I thought. Take it. Why? Because I'm telling you to. 20 seconds passed. The refrigerator hummed. Water dripped from the faucet. 1, 2, 3 drops. She took the envelope. Later, alone in the children's room, after they were asleep, she counted the money. $500, exactly. She counted it 3 times. The amount did not change. She folded the bills precisely, returned them to the envelope, and tucked it into her pillowcase. On the 5th evening, Mael watched Alistair take his medication at the kitchen table. He opened his pill organizer and took pills from the Tuesday evening slot. It was Wednesday. She was washing dishes with her back mostly turned, but her eyes tracked his hand to his mouth. Her hand stopped. Water ran over a plate that was already clean. He swallowed the wrong pills and left the room. She approached the organizer. Her hand hovered over it for 3 seconds. She looked toward his closed bedroom door, then rearranged the pills correctly. She placed Wednesday morning's dose on the counter with no note, then returned to the sink. In the morning, Alistair entered the kitchen and saw the pills on the counter. He looked at the organizer, counted backward through the days, and understood his error. He looked at Mael. She was making coffee with her back turned. He took the correct pills. Neither of them spoke. At breakfast, he set down his fork. You went through my medication. She stopped cooking. She did not turn around. You took the wrong pills. That's not your business. And then you could have, died? And then you'd really be out on the street. She stopped washing dishes. The water continued running. Is that why you fixed it? He said. Self-preservation? She did not answer. I didn't ask for a nurse. She turned the water off. I didn't ask to be here. Yes, you did. You're still here. He left. She stood at the sink, staring at nothing. That night, she heard him through the wall. Not a bedtime story. The children's room and the guest room shared a wall. His voice came through angry and loud. I don't care what the board thinks. The fun can wait. I said no. Something hit the wall. A phone, maybe. Then silence. She listened. She should have moved away from the wall. She did not. In the morning, the guest room door was open. The room was trashed. A lamp broken, papers scattered everywhere. Alistair was in the kitchen, calm, drinking coffee. Mael saw the room while walking past. She said nothing. While he was in his study, she cleaned it. He never mentioned it. She never asked. The next evening, while she put the children to bed, he was in the guest room on the other side of the wall. She read to them in French, a children's story about a fox and a rabbit. Elowin asked a question. Mael answered softly. Caius laughed, and she said, Shh, Caius, one more page. She read for 12 more minutes, then closed the book. Her footsteps descended the stairs. In the guest room, Alistair had not turned a page of his book in 18 minutes. When her footsteps faded, he closed the book and stared at the wall. He did not leave the room. Downstairs, Mael sat in the kitchen with a cup of tea that went cold. She did not drink it. She knew the walls were thin. She did not know if he had heard. She did not ask. On the 7th afternoon, Alistair stood in the doorway of his study. Where's Elowin? Mael looked up from the stove. Her room. Why? Get her. What's... now? Mael climbed the stairs and returned with Elowin. The girl walked slowly, counting each step under her breath. In the kitchen, Alistair did not crouch to her level. Did you take money from my desk? Elowin looked at the floor. She nodded. Answer me. She nodded again. Why? The word came out as a whisper. For food. There's food here. For later, when we leave. No one spoke for 9 seconds. The refrigerator hummed. All 3 people stood motionless. That's stealing, Alistair said. Elowin's shoulders shook, but she made no sound. Give it back. She went upstairs and returned with $50. Her hand shook as she extended it. He took the money without gentleness. 10 days, I said 10 days. You don't trust that? Elowin shook her head. Smart girl. He gestured toward the door with his hand. Elowen ran upstairs. Maëlle stepped forward. She's terrified. She should be. This isn't a charity. She's a child. Your child. Control her. He left the kitchen. Maëlle stood alone. Upstairs, a door closed quietly. Then another. The house settled into silence. On the 8th morning at 10 o'clock, the doorbell rang. Alistair opened the door. A woman in a gray suit pushed past him into the house. 6 weeks, Alistair. 6 weeks of silence. I told you I'm recovering. Saskia stopped in the living room. Her eyes moved across the space. Children's toys on the floor, drawings on the refrigerator visible through the doorway, a child's jacket hanging on the coat rack. Maëlle emerged from the laundry room carrying a basket of folded clothes. Alistair's clothes sat on top, shirts, pants, socks arranged neatly. Saskia turned slowly. She looked at Maëlle, at the laundry basket, at Alistair. Her mouth opened slightly. "Oh," she said. Then again, slower. "Oh." Alistair took a step forward. "She's staff? Really, Alistair?" Saskia approached Maëlle. She did not extend her hand. "What's he paying you?" Maëlle stood frozen, holding the basket. "Minimum wage? Or is it room and board?" Saskia smiled. The smile was cold. "Saskia," Alistair said, "no wonder you won't leave. You found something cheaper than a hotel." She turned to Maëlle. "How long are you staying?" 10 days. 10 days. Saskia laughed, a short, sharp sound. To Alistair, "You're letting her think it's 10 days. It is 10 days. Then why cancel the house sale listing?" The room went silent. Maëlle's voice came out quiet. "What? Oh, he didn't tell you? He canceled it 3 days ago." Saskia looked at Alistair. "Or did you forget you copied me on that email?" Maëlle stared at Alistair. He did not look at her. "We'll talk about this later," he said. "You canceled. Later." Maëlle set down the laundry basket and left the room. Her footsteps were careful and measured on the stairs. Saskia and Alistair stood 6 feet apart in the living room. "What are you doing?" Saskia said. "This isn't your concern. The fund is collapsing. You're here playing domestic fantasy with a woman who's, what, grateful? Desperate? Get out." She has kids, Alistair. You're not saving her. You're trapping her." "I said get out." Saskia walked to the door. She stopped with her hand on the knob. "When this ends badly, and it will, remember I warned you." She left. The door closed. Alistair stood in the empty living room. On the stairs, barely visible through the railing, Elowen sat on the 4th step. She had been there the entire time. When Alistair looked up, she stood and went to her room without a word. That night, Maëlle packed. She moved quietly while the children slept, folding each item twice before placing it in the suitcase. She did not zip the suitcase closed. In the guest room, Alistair heard the soft sounds of packing through the wall. He sat on the edge of his bed and stared at the wall. He did not go to her. He did not stop her. In the morning, suitcases sat by the front door. At 6 in the morning, Maëlle stood at the stove making breakfast. The suitcases remained by the door. Alistair entered the kitchen and saw them. He sat down at the table. Coffee was already poured. He ate. She cooked. 6 minutes passed. "You're leaving early," he said. "Yes." "Where are you going?" "That's not your concern." "Do you have somewhere?" She did not answer. She scraped the pan harder than necessary. "That's what I thought. I'll figure it out. Ian with 2 kids and $500. "Yes. It's 20 degrees outside." "I know." "Where will you sleep tonight?" "I'll find shelter." "A shelter, with Elowen and Caius." She stopped cooking. Her hand gripped the spatula tightly. "Do you want me to beg? Is that it?" "I want you to be realistic." "I'm being realistic. I can't stay." "Why not?" "Because you lied." "About what?" 10 days. The house. All of it. "I didn't lie. I changed my mind." "Without telling me." "I don't owe you explanations." She turned off the stove and walked toward the suitcases. "If you leave, I'm calling." She stopped. "Calling who?" "Child services. 2 children. No home. Winter. They'll be placed in foster care within hours." 15 seconds of silence. The refrigerator's hum was the only sound. They stared at each other across the kitchen. Neither blinked. "You wouldn't." "Try me." 5 more seconds passed. "Stay until you have a real plan. Not just pride." How long?" "Until you're stable." "Define stable." "Job, apartment, deposit." "That could take months." "Then it takes months." She walked to the suitcases. She picked up the first one, carried it upstairs, returned for the second. He watched from the kitchen doorway. She made 3 trips. He did not offer to help. The second week began. New patterns emerged without discussion. She cooked without asking his preferences. He ate what appeared on the table. He left money on the counter in envelopes. She took it without acknowledgement. When they passed in the hallway, both shifted right, then left, nearly colliding before one stopped and waited for the other to pass. The children stayed mostly upstairs. Elowyn had learned to be silent. One night, Alistair walked past the children's room. The door was open 2 inches. He stopped. Caius's voice. "When are we leaving?" "Soon." "You said that before?" Elowyn's voice, older and harder. "He won't let us go." "He doesn't control us." "Yes, he does. He has all the power." Silence. Then Mael's voice, quieter. "Go to sleep." Alistair stood in the hallway for 40 seconds. Then he returned to his room and sat on the edge of the bed. He stared at the wall for 8 minutes without moving. The next morning, an envelope sat on the counter. $1,000 this time. The note said, "For your plan." Mael read the note. She crumpled it, then smoothed it flat again. She counted the money twice. She understood. More money meant a longer timeline. Proper planning required more savings. She took it anyway. In the third week, Mael sat at the kitchen table with her laptop open, searching job listings. Alistair read the newspaper nearby. 20 minutes passed without conversation. "What kind of work are you looking for?" he said. "Anything. That's not a plan." "It's the plan I have. I could make calls, I know." "No. You'd rather struggle." "Yes. That's pride, not logic." "It's all I have left." He turned a page of his newspaper. She returned to her laptop. Neither spoke again. That night, both lay awake in separate rooms. Morning came. The pattern repeated. In the fourth week, on a Tuesday night at 11 o'clock, Caius woke with a fever. Mael touched his forehead. Hot. She got the thermometer. 101.8 degrees. She gave him children's Tylenol and marked the dose and time on a piece of paper. She sat on the floor beside his bed. At 12:30, she checked again. 102.4 degrees. She put a cool cloth on his forehead. At 2 in the morning, the thermometer read 103.1 degrees. She stood up. She walked to her door. Her hand touched the doorknob. Through the wall, she heard Alistair shift in his bed. 10 feet away, she could knock. Her hand dropped from the knob. She returned to Caius and gave him another dose of medicine. At 3:30, the fever was 103.9 degrees. Caius was lethargic. His responses were slow. Her hand was on the door again. She stood there for 6 seconds. She did not knock. At 4:45, the thermometer read 104.2 degrees. Caius's eyes were unfocused. Elowyn woke and saw her brother. "Get Uncle Al," Elowyn said. Mael stared at her daughter. "Now, Maman." Mael knocked on the guest room door. Weak at first. No answer. She knocked harder. Alistair opened the door. He was shirtless and disoriented. He looked at her face and followed her without asking questions. 20 minutes later, they were in the car. Alistair drove. Mael sat in the back with Caius. Elowyn was in the front passenger seat, facing forward, not looking back at her mother or brother. No one spoke. Only the sound of tires on pavement and Caius's labored breathing. At the hospital, a team was already waiting. They took Caius immediately. An hour later, a doctor emerged. Severe bacterial infection. Another hour and we'd be looking at sepsis. The doctor looked at Mael. How long was he symptomatic? Since 11. The doctor checked his watch. 6:40 in the morning. 7.5 hours? Why didn't you bring him sooner? Mael said nothing. Do you not have transportation? From the doorway, Alistair's voice. She had transportation. The doctor looked between them, confused. It's complicated, Mael said. Complicated enough to risk your son's life? She did not answer. We're keeping him 48 hours. Social services will be by to ask some questions. The doctor left. Elowyn had heard everything from her chair in the corner. In the waiting room, Elowyn sat 3 chairs away from her mother. Unusual distance. Why didn't you wake him? Elowyn said. Elowyn. Caius could have died. Why didn't you wake him? It's not that simple. Yes, it is. You chose wrong. Mael reached toward her daughter. Elowyn pulled back, rejecting the touch. You hurt Caius because you hate asking him for help. Mael tried to speak. She could not. I don't want to be like you. Elowyn stood up and walked across the waiting room. She sat down in the chair next to Alistair. He did not reject her. He did not invite her. He allowed it. Mael sat alone, 3 chairs away, watching her daughter choose someone else. An hour later, a social worker arrived with a clipboard. She asked questions about their home situation. Staying with a friend, Mael said. The social worker turned to Alistair. And you are? Alistair paused. 4 seconds. Family friend. Relationship to the child. Another pause. He calls me Uncle Al. The social worker wrote this down. She asked more questions, made more notes, then left. That night, Caius slept in a hospital bed, medicated. Elowyn slept in a chair pulled close to the bed. Maël sat on the window bench. Alistair stood in the hallway, visible through the door window. At 4 in the morning, Maël left the room. Alistair was still there. They stood 6 feet apart in the empty hallway. "Why did you lie to the social worker?" she said. "Why did you wait 7 hours?" She said nothing. "We're both guilty. Of different things." "Are we?" Silence filled the space between them. You heard him with pride. "I'm hurting all of you with control. What's the difference?" "You can stop anytime." "So can you." "No, I can't." "You made sure of that. And you're still here. Because you won't let me leave." "I've never locked the door." "You did something worse. You made leaving impossible." 30 seconds passed. A nurse walked by. Neither of them moved. "I know," Alistair said. He returned to his chair in the hallway. She returned to the window bench. Neither slept. At 6 in the morning, Dr. Court made his rounds. "You can take him home this afternoon. Make sure someone's with him for 48 hours. He looked at both adults when he said home. He did not specify whose home. Then he left. 48 hours meant past the 10-day deadline. Neither of them mentioned this. 48 hours later, they returned to the house. Alistair carried Caius from the car. Maël followed 4 steps behind. Elowyn walked ahead of both of them, entered the house alone, and went directly upstairs. Her door closed. The latch clicked. Alistair laid Caius in bed and arranged the pillows. Maël reached to help. He did not pause or make space. She withdrew her hand and stood in the doorway. He checked the medication schedule the nurse had written, placed it on the nightstand, and left the room. When he passed Maël in the doorway, he did not turn sideways. She moved. At 6 in the evening, Maël prepared dinner, chicken, rice, vegetables. She set the table with 4 plates. At 7, the food sat cooling. No one came. At 7:15, she climbed the stairs. Elowyn's door was closed. Alistair's study door was closed. She returned to the kitchen and ate alone. At 7:45, she cleared the table. 3 plates remained unused. She heard voices from Alistair's study. She walked down the hall. The door was open 2 inches. Inside, Elowyn sat in the desk chair. Alistair sat on the couch. Chinese takeout containers were spread between them. Elowyn held chopsticks. She was laughing. Maël stood in the hallway for 90 seconds. Then she returned to the kitchen. In the trash can, she found 3 empty takeout containers. They had ordered food without telling her. She sat down at the table. The food she had prepared was already cold. The next afternoon, Alistair's phone rang in his study. The door was closed. Maël was in the hallway with a laundry basket. She heard the phone ring. She stopped walking. She set the basket down quietly and moved to the door. Her ears stopped 6 inches from the wood. The board voted, "You're out." A woman's voice, Saskia, 4 seconds of silence. "What?" Alistair's voice was louder. "Effective immediately. Abandonment clause." "No, that requires unanimous." "It was unanimous. I voted yes." 7 seconds of silence. Maël leaned closer to the door. "You voted to remove me. You removed yourself. I made it official." And a chair scraped. He had stood. "We built this together. You built it, then you left. For what? A woman and her kids?" Maël's hand touched the door. She did not push. "She's there because she has no choice. You're there because you can't face what you've become." Her hand dropped. "She'd leave tomorrow if she could. You're choosing this." Alistair's voice was lower now, inaudible. "You threatened to call CPS. Michael in legal told me." 20 seconds of silence, the longest yet. 180 million buyout, papers couriered tomorrow. We're done. The call ended. A beep. The door opened. Alistair stepped out and saw Maël immediately. The laundry basket sat on the floor. It was obvious she had been listening. They stood 3 feet apart in the narrow hallway. "I heard," she said. He stared at her. He did not respond. "I'm sorry." "No, you're not." 6 seconds passed. "No, I'm not." "You think I deserve it?" "Yes." He turned and walked away. 5 steps down the hall, he stopped. He did not turn back. "You're glad I'm suffering. I'm glad you can't run anymore." He turned now, faced her. "Run from what?" "Whatever made you need this, need us, need control. I don't need you." Then let us go." 40 seconds passed. They stood in the hallway. Neither moved. "No." "But why?" "Because if you leave, I'm alone with what I've become. That's not my responsibility. I know." 8 seconds. "But you're still here." He returned to his study and closed the door. She stood in the hallway for 2 minutes. Then she picked up the laundry basket and continued to the laundry room. That night, Elowyn appeared in the doorway of Alistair's guest room. "Uncle Al, can I sleep here?" "Yes." She entered with her pillow and climbed into the empty side of the bed. He turned off the light. In the children's room, Mael sat alone with Caius. The other bed was empty. She stared at it for a long time before turning off her own light. 6 weeks passed. On a Wednesday morning, Mael stood at the stove preparing breakfast. Scrambled eggs, toast, fruit. The kitchen door opened. Elowin and Alistair entered together. Both wore jackets. They had just come from outside. Elowin took off her jacket and hung it on a chair. Alistair did the same. Mael turned from the stove. Elowin, eat breakfast. She gestured toward the prepared food. Elowin did not move toward it. Uncle Al already fed me. The spatula stopped midair. 3 seconds. When? An hour ago. We went to the diner. Mael set the spatula down. Her hand gripped the counter edge. Without telling me? She's not a prisoner. Alistair spoke for the first time. Mael faced him. She released the counter. She's my daughter. Elowin stepped closer to Alistair. Inches, not feet. I didn't want to wake you, and you could have left a note. Like you left a note when you stayed with Caius all night? When you didn't tell us you needed help? 12 seconds of silence. Mael turned back to the stove. I'm staying with Uncle Al from now on. Mael turned fast. The spatula dropped. It clattered on the floor. What? In the guest room. He said I can. Mael looked at Alistair, not at her daughter. You said she can? She asked. I said yes. She's 7. And I know who keeps me safe. Elowin walked out. She passed her mother without looking. Footsteps climbed the stairs. A door closed. Mael and Alistair stood on opposite sides of the kitchen island. The prepared breakfast sat between them, cooling. 45 seconds passed. Mael turned off the stove and left the kitchen. She did not clear the food. At 11 that morning, Mael entered the guest room. Elowin's clothes sat folded on a chair. Her pillow, from the children's room, was on the bed. The bed was made with uneven corners. Mael stood in the doorway for 3 minutes. She did not enter. She did not touch anything. She closed the door and returned to the children's room. Elowin's bed was empty. Later that day, Alistair sat at the kitchen table with a newspaper. Mael was at the counter making coffee. Her back was turned. I made some calls, he said. She stopped pouring. Coffee overflowed the cup. It puddled on the counter. She did not turn. About what? Work, for you. She turned. The coffee remained puddled, ignored. She set the pot down. She did not wipe the spill. Friend of mine owns a restoration company in Burlington. He needs someone with your background. She crossed her arms. She leaned against the counter. How do you know my background? He turned a page. He did not look up. I looked you up. When? Week 1. She pushed off the counter and walked to the table. She stood opposite him. The table was between them. Why? He looked up now. He folded the newspaper slowly. To understand who was in my house. 8 seconds of silence. And? You were good, before. She pulled out a chair. She sat. It was the first time she had sat without permission. He registered this. He did not comment. The job is yours if you want it. $65,000. Benefits starts in 2 weeks. $65,000? Yes. And you arranged this? Yes. Without asking. You said you needed work. I said I needed to leave. He leaned back. His chair tilted on the back legs. You can't leave without income. Now you have income. So I stay. Nim, so you stay. In your house? Yes. Paying you rent? No. The chair returned to 4 legs. Then what's the arrangement? He stood. He walked to the coffee pot and poured a cup. He returned to the table but remained standing. You work, you save. When you have enough for deposit, first month, last month, and 3 months buffer, then you look for a place. And that's $15,000 minimum, at least 6 months. Yes. You're extending my captivity. I'm giving you an exit that doesn't end in a shelter. By controlling every variable. By making sure you don't fail. She stood. They faced each other across the table. What if I refuse the job? He drank his coffee. The cup hit his mouth. He lowered it slowly. Then you have no plan, and I call CPS like I said I would. 60 seconds passed. Neither moved. The coffee on the counter had stopped dripping. It was beginning to dry at the edges. I hate you. I know. This isn't help. No, it's not. Then what is it? Keeping you close while pretending it's for your benefit. She stared at him. 15 seconds without blinking. He held her gaze. Neither looked away. Do you want the job or not? Yes. Good. You start March 1st. He left the kitchen. The newspaper remained abandoned on the table. She sat back down. She stared at the spilled coffee. It was cold now. The edges had dried completely. 6 months later, September. Mael returned from work at 6:15 in the evening. Alistair's car was already in the driveway. She entered the house. The smell of cooking came from the kitchen. Alistair stood at the stove, stirring pasta. There's enough for 4. He did not turn around. She set her work bag on the counter. She washed her hands at the sink. Where are the kids? Elowen's doing homework in my study. Caius is with her. 5 seconds of silence. I can finish this. It's almost done. She sat at the table. She waited. Elowen set the table without being asked. Caius helped, carrying napkins. They sat, Alistair and Elowen on one side, Mael and Caius on the other. The sides had not been planned. They had simply happened. The meal was mostly silent. Then Elowen spoke. Can I go to Sarah's birthday party Saturday? Alistair looked at Mael. It was the first eye contact of the evening. What time? Mael said. Elowen looked at Alistair while answering her mother. 2 to 5. That's fine. I'll drive her, Alistair said. Mael nodded. She did not argue. Caius finished first. May I be excused? Yes, brush teeth. Elowen finished. She did not ask her mother. She looked at Alistair. He nodded. She left and took Caius with her. The 2 adults remained. They cleared the table in silence. Mael washed dishes. Alistair dried. The system was established. Unspoken routine. You have enough for a deposit. She did not pause washing. She continued. Not quite. You have 8,000. That's enough. I need buffer. She scrubbed a plate, then scrubbed it again. A third time. You said 3 months buffer. At your salary, that's 16,000 total. You're halfway. The plate was clean. She kept scrubbing. I need more time. He stopped drying. He set the towel down. Or you need an excuse. For what? To stay. She turned off the water. She set the plate in the rack. She did not turn around. 20 seconds passed. I'm not staying because I want to. Then why? Elowen. What about her? If I take her, she'll hate me. If I leave her, she'll forget me. So you're trapped. Yes. By me or by her? Does it matter? 15 seconds of silence. He picked up the towel. He resumed drying. She turned the water back on. She resumed washing. The dishes were completed without further conversation. In October, 1 month later, mail fell through the slot to the floor. Mael collected it. She sorted while walking to the counter. Junk mail, bills for Alistair, magazines. An envelope from Kellerman Realty. She saw the sender before the addressee. She opened it while walking. She tore the top edge and pulled the letter out. She read, Per your request, 247 Meadow Road listing has been canceled effective October 10th. She stopped in the middle of the kitchen. She read the line again. She checked the date. October 10th. Day 10. 6 months ago. The bottom of the letter. Active listing canceled at owner request. No future action required. Alistair entered the kitchen. He saw her holding the letter. He stopped in the doorway. 8 seconds of silence. You canceled the sale. She did not look up from the letter. Yes. She looked up now. Eye contact. When? The day we brought Caius home. 6 months ago. Yes. You didn't tell me. No. She set the letter on the counter. She smoothed it flat. Why? He entered this kitchen. He stopped at the island. He did not cross to her side. He did not answer. Did you cancel it because of us? I don't know. She picked up the letter. She folded it. She unfolded it. She folded it again. I need to know what this is. She gestured at the house. What is this? She gestured at the space between them. He looked at her hand, gesturing at the space. Back to her face. I don't know. She folded the letter a final time. She placed it in her pocket. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. She walked past him. She stopped at the doorway. Her back was turned. I can't stay if I don't know why you want me to. I'm not asking you to stay. She turned. She faced him across the kitchen. But you canceled the sale? That's not the same thing. Then what is it? 30 seconds passed. He did not answer. She waited. He did not speak. She left. Footsteps climbed the stairs. A door closed. 15 minutes later, Mael sat on the floor of the children's room. The letter was in her hands. She unfolded it. She read it again. She folded it and placed it in her dresser drawer under her clothes. She did not throw it away. That afternoon, school forms arrived in the mail. Emergency contact update required. 2 lines. Parent guardian. Emergency contact. She filled the first line. Mael Duran, mother. She filled the second line. Alistair Pierce, family friend. She did not ask him. She signed the form. She placed it in an envelope. He saw the form on the counter later. He read it. He did not comment. She saw him read it. Neither spoke. In the dining room, the drawing remained on the wall. Elowen's crayon marks from the first week. Wallpaper samples sat on the counter. Neutral beige, cream, light gray. Alistair selected a pattern and called the installer. Install around the drawing on the dining room wall. Don't cover it. You want us to cut around children's crayon marks? Yes. Frame it with the new wallpaper. The work was completed. The drawing was now surrounded by fresh wallpaper. Crayon marks, permanent. They could not be removed without destroying the wall. Neither adult mentioned this. Both saw it daily. At 9 in the evening, Mayel sat in the living room with her laptop open. Job applications were still open on the screen, unsent. The cursor hovered over the submit button. She did not click. She closed the laptop. Alistair sat on the same couch. Opposite end, he was reading. Neither spoke. The television was off, only lamplight. Upstairs, the children's voices came through the ceiling. Quiet conversation. Both adults heard it. Neither went up. At 9:30, Alistair stood. Good night. Good night. He went to the guest room. Elowyn was there. She went to the children's room. Caius was there. Doors closed. 4 people. 2 rooms. 2 pairs. The house went dark. In the morning, the pattern repeated. A woman sorts mail that isn't addressed to her. Bills, mostly. Some catalogs for furniture she'll never buy, for a house she doesn't own. 1 envelope from a school, asking for emergency contact information. There are 2 names on the form already, both adults in the house, neither married to each other, neither legally responsible for both children. She fills out the form anyway, lists both names. Who is keeping whom? Who stayed because they wanted to, and who stayed because wanting became irrelevant. If you accept help from someone who won't explain why they're helping, are you choosing to stay, or are you choosing to stop noticing you're not free? At what point does survival become participation? And when you can finally afford to leave, but don't, what were you ever surviving from?